All right, warning, please do not buy Bitcoin. Here's why. This one time, Bitcoin was worth 44 cents and it went all the way up to $30 and then it crashed back down to $7. And then this other time, it was worth $13. It went all the way up to $213, but then it crashed back down to $65. And then this other time, Bitcoin went from $147 to $1,100, and then it crashed back down to $480. And this other time, Bitcoin was worth $1,100, it went up to $19,000, and then it crashed back down to $6,300. So the moral of the story is, don't buy Bitcoin because you know it's gonna crash.
Hey, how about you stop stealing other people's content and give credit where credit is due, okay? Unbelievable. Unsub from this guy.
Okay, sorry Peter McKinnon. The nerve on that guy. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well, and let's talk about Bitcoin. Normally, I don't make videos about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, so I'm a little scared to make this video because I know for some people, Bitcoin is a scam, and there is nothing you can say to those people that would ever change their mind. And then there's the other half of people who treat Bitcoin like a religion, so don't you dare say anything offensive to make them feel uncomfortable. So today, I wanted to sort of squeeze through the middle of that crowd and talk objectively about what it means to have good money in the first place, and if Bitcoin really is going to $400,000 and beyond. Because for the first time ever, Bitcoin crossed the psychological threshold of $20,000 on Wednesday, which is pretty cool. And I think it's time to revisit a video that I shot back in May 2019 when I first started my YouTube channel. I remember that day really well because I was in Cologne, Germany, and my friend Alex was putting on a magic show. And instead of being a good friend and supporting him, I decided to skip his show and explore the town and record that video. And in that video, I used the Kardashev scale to basically predict that Bitcoin would eventually become worth $1 million because it would basically become a type 1 civilization's form of money. That is, money for the entire world. So let's see what's changed. And first, I want to give you a little disclaimer. This video is not about trying to get rich quick. I'm not saying you should invest or buy Bitcoin. This is just one guy on the internet's thoughts and opinions about Bitcoin. And there's going to be a ton of people in the comment section pretending to be me and scam you out of money. But if I respond, please remember I have a highlight in my name just like that. Just so you know. So first, I want to give credit to Bitcoin for teaching me what money actually is, because now I'm in it for the technology. But one of the cool things that I got out of owning Bitcoin, besides obviously making money from it, is understanding what good money is. And that is very important to understand if you want to make money from Bitcoin long term, because holding on to it is terrifying. Like, imagine holding a stock that's up 30% today, but then down 50% tomorrow. It's scary. And when we think about money, it seems like such an easy concept to understand, right? Like, this is $100 right here, and yeah, I could see it. And this is something that I could buy with money. But money isn't something that we just flick on the switch, put in fabric on one end, and get money out the other. It's something else entirely. And to create good money is very, very hard. First, Bitcoin is not actually printed like the dollar. Instead, it's digitally created by a process called mining. But instead of Minecraft and the pickaxe, instead imagine thousands of computers all over the world that are working hard to solve complex mathematical algorithms. And that sounds wasteful and pointless, but it does have a purpose. And we can use the analogy of this little Rubik's Cube right here, which sort of contains all of the transactions that we have. So anytime I send you a Bitcoin and you send it to a friend, those transactions then get stored inside of this Rubik's Cube. And we can see which transactions they are because they're publicly displayed for everybody else. It's the public ledger that you can kind of think of as sort of the leaderboard or the scoreboard for gaming, which is also why, by the way, the government loves Bitcoin, because it makes tracing illegal or criminal activity very easy. Oh, Andre got a high score, huh? We didn't get our cut. Now, all these transactions that get sent to the Rubik's Cube are just gonna be waiting there to be confirmed or made official. And the way we make them official or to confirm them is we actually solve the Rubik's Cube. So can't actually solve one, so let's skip that part. But as you might have noticed, it's a limited size, right? There's only so much data we can fit inside of one Rubik's Cube, which means every 10 minutes we have to jump to a new block where this entire process gets repeated over and over again. So just imagine that every time it gets solved, it cracks wide open and out of it come doubloons. Or coins, basically. To keep things fair though, because technology and computers get better and better and they evolve and get more efficient, every 2016 Rubik's Cubes, or roughly every 2 weeks, the difficulty in solving these Rubik's Cubes actually increases. And that's just to make sure that we don't invent a computer that's suddenly powerful to just mine all of the Bitcoins out of the space. And to control inflation, which is something that the governments of the world have typically not been very good about, Bitcoin was designed to be a deflationary type of asset, which means that instead of printing more money over time, there's only going to be less Bitcoins introduced into the economy over time. And this happens, by the way, roughly every 4 years, which is when, as a miner, when I solve this Rubik's Cube, roughly every 4 years, that reward gets cut in half, and then in half again every 4 years systematically, which is also why the last Rubik's Cube will be solved sometime in the year 2140. So we've definitely got some time, but the reason that Bitcoin is so valuable on a technical level is because it is the best form of money that human beings have ever created up until this point in history. It's also very scarce, and it's very rare, and it's also the first one that we've ever made. And so Bitcoin has a lot of advantages over other forms of money, and here's a few examples. To be considered a good form of money, money has to have 5 things going for it. And the first is divisibility. So gold, for example, is pretty bad because I can't divide it exactly and precisely to however much you need and then pay you for your Pokemon cards. And the dollar is only divisible up to 100 pennies. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is divisible up to 100 million times into individual units called Satoshis, which is a tribute to the creator or the group of people who created Bitcoin. And the reason that divisibility is so important to a Type 1 economy is because it allows us to go more on demand and one that's based on consumption. So for example, you know how when we pay for our phone, we pay on a monthly plan? Well, imagine we paid for only the data that we used up to the precision of 8 decimal points if that's how precise we need to be. And that allows us to transition to a potentially better form of taxation because instead of taxing people's incomes, instead we'd focus on taxing people's consumption levels. So if you're somebody wealthy and you're a billionaire with yachts and jets and mansions and Lamborghinis, you'd instead be taxed on the consumption and the effects that you'd have on the environment. The second thing a good form of money has to have is durability, which means how strong money is. So gold, for example, is pretty bad because you could easily melt it down and mix it in with impurities, therefore just destroying its entire value. The dollar is arguably even worse because you could destroy paper money pretty easily as well. The third thing that it has to have is it has to be rare. And that seems like an easy one for good money to have, but believe it or not, it took human beings a really long time to come up with a standard that we were all happy with because the people that lived near the beach obviously wanted to use seashells because that was rare for the people that didn't live near the ocean. So it took us forever to settle on the gold standard just because we found out that gold was relatively evenly spread throughout the earth and it was hard to get for pretty much everyone equally. The dollar, though, is the exact opposite of that because we print the dollar sometimes in the billions of dollars per day. And that's also why people say that your money loses to inflation. It loses value because we continue creating more and more every single day. And the last thing a good form of money should have is uniformity and acceptability. And by acceptability, it means to be accepted worldwide from your local grocery stores all the way to OnlyFans. The second thing is uniformity, which means it should be exactly the same from each unit of measure where you can't tell the difference between the two. And that's also referred to as fungibility, or how squishy it is. Actually, fungibility just means that there's no way for us to discriminate from one unit to the other. Bitcoin actually has a problem here, because we can trace the origin of each Bitcoin from wallet to wallet back to the beginning, which means in theory, the government can look at where your money has been and then argue against you that your money was involved in some illicit activity, therefore we're gonna repossess it and now it's ours. So as you can see that some Bitcoins that are pure and weren't involved in anything sketchy would be more valuable than ones that aren't. But I do think that it's eventually going to be solved because it's a privacy issue solved by things like shufflers and mixers. So for example, if this Bitcoin was stolen and this one wasn't, what you would do is you would then break it up into Satoshis and then you would mix the two up together before sending that transaction, which means now I'm a show off. But now you don't know which card came from which deck. Now the problem's solved. I'm a genius.
Now all of this stuff about money, we've known for a long time. But it's finally now that institutional hedge fund managers are starting to realize it, and they're finally starting to see the light. That's why we're seeing billions and billions of dollars poured in from their hedge funds into Bitcoin. But that's the narrative. The reality is that those people are extremely intelligent, and they, along with corporations and banks, have quietly been buying Bitcoin behind the scenes, all the while telling everyone else that it's just a scam. That's because back in 2017, it wasn't cool to admit that you had any Bitcoin. Like,
you own Bitcoin? You idiot. That's a Beanie Baby fad.
now, it's cool among the rich kids to admit to themselves how much money they actually have in Bitcoin. And by the way, by rich kids, I mean very intelligent, very successful billionaire hedge fund types that have finally started to reveal their bags to us.
So December 16th was a monumental day for investors because it broke past the psychological barrier of $20,000. And now it's sitting at, the time of recording this video, $21,846. And it's seemingly increasing every second. Dad, I want to buy Bitcoin at $20,000? $21,500? Why do you need to buy Bitcoin at $22,300? $24,600 is a lot of money for someone your age. In all seriousness though, the best part about this is that this time, unlike 2017, it's smart money. Because this time we don't have a crazy spike in Google searches and all these retail investors that are FOMOing into it. That'll be part of the process soon, but for now, it's just smart money with the addition of PayPal accepting it and all these other institutional investors that are joining in, along with the biggest factor of them all, which is economic uncertainty and the Federal Reserve's policy of infinite quantitative easing. Obviously, this is not normal and should not happen in a healthy economy. But when times like this happen, that's when assets like gold and like Bitcoin increase in price like crazy. In fact, we even had Scott Minerd, who's the chief investment officer of Guggenheim Investments, who just recently publicly came forward and admitted that his billion-dollar hedge fund was buying Bitcoin since it was at $10,000. And his team believes that the fundamental value of Bitcoin is $400,000. So there's no telling how high the bull run will go. But in the meantime, be ready for a wild ride as we continue to crash forward and set new record highs. But if you are investing in this, and I can't actually give advice, so I'll just say please be careful when investing and don't put in more than 10% of your net worth into this asset unless you're a huge believer and you watched everything in this video and you 100% understand every concept that I talked about. If you can hold on to it, and if you don't speculate too much on it, I do think you'll be highly rewarded.
And as always, if you want to get started with investing, you can get 4 free stocks from Webull by depositing $100 into their brokerage. 4 free stocks will be given to you, and 2 of them can be valued up to $1,600 each. Just remember, you have until the end of December to do that. It's a limited time promotion. You can also get a 5th free stock from Robinhood, code down below. And if you want to get started investing in Bitcoin and you hold it on an exchange, make sure your money is making you money and it's gaining interest. So you can do that with BlockFi by using this code right here. You can get up to $250 worth for free. Please remember, this is not an FDIC insured deposit, so there's always a risk of losing money. Having said that, you can follow me on Instagram. I post from time to time. Join my free Discord group, link down below, or reach out to me through my PO box. Love you. Thank you so much for watching the video. I will see you back here on Monday and Friday, sometimes a Wednesday, and I'd really love to hear your thoughts on where you think Bitcoin is actually going. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.